A blind man's white cane is supposed to guarantee safety and independence, not trigger a police takedown. But for Jerome Washington in Baltimore, years of disability training meant nothing when Officer Kyle Brennan saw only threat and acted on suspicion shaped by a history of racial profiling. 13 complaints, one catastrophic misjudgment, and a $1 million reckoning later, the question remains: how did a routine bus stop end with a city in crisis? Jerome Washington lost his sight in a construction accident more than a decade ago. After 18 months of intensive rehabilitation, he learned to navigate the city using a white cane, an aid protected by federal law. Each morning, Jerome folds his cane and secures his headphones before heading to work as a customer service agent. He moves confidently through crowded sidewalks and busy intersections, relying on skills honed through physical therapy and mobility training. The cane is not just a tool, it is his access to independence and safety, recognized by the Americans with Disabilities Act as essential for public life. On the day in question, Jerome finished a physical therapy session and waited at the bus stop, his cane resting in his lap. For him, surrendering that cane, even for a moment, would mean risking his orientation and personal safety. Years of practice made him a familiar face to local businesses and commuters, a man who proved every day that blindness is no barrier to living fully. Kyle Brennan's personnel file tells a story the department chose not to hear. Over 5 years in uniform, he racked up 13 formal complaints, 12 involving black men stopped for ordinary activities like waiting for a ride or sitting outside a store. Each time, supervisors logged the incident, checked a box for training provided, and sent Brennan back onto the streets. No suspension, no loss of pay, not even a temporary desk assignment. The official language described him as hyper-vigilant, a word that masked a pattern of suspicion aimed at black residents simply existing in public. Internal Affairs reviewed the files, but closed each case with a note, no policy violation found. The department's reliance on paperwork and brief coaching meant that warning signs never reached the level of crisis, until a body camera and a white cane forced the issue into the open. A 911 dispatcher relayed a call about a man in a red hat sitting alone near the CVES, possibly armed with a pipe or a club. The caller's focus on race and the object in Jerome's hand fed a familiar cycle, turning ordinary presence into a threat. Officer Brennan arrived fast, zeroing in on Jerome's red cap and the white cane resting across his lap. He ignored the reflective tape and the unmistakable shape of a mobility aid. With his hand hovering near his holster, Brennan barked the first order, drop the object, and stand up. Jerome calmly said, "I am blind. This is my cane." Brennan's voice sharpened. He demanded Jerome set the cane aside and show identification. Each request ignored what was in front of him: federal law, years of training, and the reality of disability. Jerome, refusing to risk his safety, kept the cane in hand. Brennan radioed for backup, still insisting the cane was a weapon and warning of a possible threat at the bus stop. Officer Maria Santos stepped out of her cruiser at 4:19 p.m., just 90 seconds after Brennan's backup call. She scanned the scene, spotted Jerome's white cane, and immediately recognized it for what it was: a federally protected mobility aid Santos approached with calm authority, asking Jerome if he needed assistance and confirming his blindness with a few direct, respectful questions. Her tone and body language eased the tension, drawing a clear line between trained awareness and reckless suspicion. Santos had completed the department's voluntary disability awareness training, and she was one of the few officers on patrol with that background. She explained to Brennan in front of witnesses that the white cane is not a weapon, but a crucial tool recognized under the Americans with Disabilities Act. Bystanders nodded as Santos assured everyone that Jerome had every right to wait for his bus, cane in hand. In that moment, the narrative shifted. Facts and law replaced fear, and the threat Brennan imagined evaporated. Santos's intervention didn't just de-escalate the scene, it confirmed Jerome's rights and dignity in front of a growing crowd. The radio crackled with the supervisor's arrival, setting the stage for accountability to follow. Sergeant Dennis Cole stepped onto the sidewalk, scanning the crowd and the officers clustered around Jerome. Without hesitation, he took statements from witnesses and asked Officer Santos to summarize the situation. After listening to Jerome describe the cane and hearing Santos confirm the facts, Cole turned to Brennan. In front of the assembled bystanders, Cole ordered Brennan to hand over his badge and sidearm. The command was clear. Brennan was placed on immediate administrative leave pending investigation. Cole then offered Jerome a direct apology, assuring him that the department would fully cooperate with any formal complaint. Witnesses nodded, some filming, as Cole's actions sent a message. The department would not ignore what had just happened. Jerome Washington filed suit under the Americans with Disabilities Act, naming the city and department as defendants. The evidence, body camera footage, witness statements, and Brennan's complaint history left officials little room for defense. 14 months later, Baltimore agreed to a $1 million settlement, and Brennan's name was added to the National Decertification Index. National disability advocates cited the case in calls for mandatory police training and automatic suspension after repeated rights violations. Should permanent decertification be the standard for officers who target disabled citizens? Today, disability and race intersect in every public space. Real accountability means more than payouts. It demands vigilance, policy, and empathy. Until then, justice remains an unfinished promise. Share your thoughts below.